All right, let's call him Dave. Dave is a good developer. 5 years in, solid reputation, and ships fast. And every single day, Dave does the exact same thing. He opens a new ticket, he doesn't read it twice, he copies it, pastes it into an AI tool, and waits. The AI hands him a diff. He skims it, it looks reasonable, the tests pass, he opens a pull request. A reviewer then leaves 3 comments. He doesn't really read those either. He copies them, pastes them back, gets a new diff, pushes again. Tests pass, merged, next ticket. Here's the question I want you to sit with for the next 10 minutes. Who understands what Dave just built? Well, it's not Dave. And it's not the AI either, because the AI didn't understand anything. It predicted the next likely token from the context it was handed. Nobody on that team can draw you a picture of how that system actually works anymore. I'm John. This is the Thinking Engineer. One channel, one bet. AI can write the code now, but somebody still has to understand it. That somebody is the job that isn't going away. Today, I want to pull apart exactly how a good developer ends up understanding nothing he built, why it isn't really his fault, and the 5-minute habit that pulls you back out of Dave's loop. And one thing before we get into it, I read every comment on these, the agreements and the John, you're wrong about this ones especially. So if something here lands or it doesn't, tell me down below. We're working this out together. First, let's be clear about something. Dave is not the villain of the story. I don't think there is one. Dave didn't wake up one morning and decide to stop thinking. The tools got really good at removing friction, and removing friction is what tools are supposed to do. Every step of his day, the path of least resistance points at paste it in and see what comes back. That path used to be slower than thinking, and now it's faster. So thinking starts to feel like the thing getting in the way. Now multiply Dave by every developer on the team, every sprint for a year. So here's what happens. The code base grows, the tests pass, the velocity charts go up and to the right, and somebody in a planning meeting is very happy about that. But underneath all of it, the model of the system that lives in human heads, the part where someone could tell you why this aggregate is shaped this way, or why this service calls that one and not the other, that model is quietly evaporating. And it doesn't show up on a dashboard. It shows up 6 months later when a customer reports a bug that touches 3 services, and the one senior engineer who used to be able to trace that path is now also just pasting things into a tool and hoping. Because Dave isn't an outlier anymore. Dave is the team. Now here's the shift I think we have to make, and it's the whole reason I'm making these videos. For 20 years, the scarce skill in software was producing code. Typing it, fighting the syntax, remembering the API, that was the bottleneck. If you could produce code quickly and correctly, you were valuable. And AI just collapsed that bottleneck entirely, almost to zero. Claude Code, or whatever you reach for, can produce more syntactically correct code in a minute than Dave could write in a day. The typing part of the job is basically solved. What didn't get solved, and what AI fundamentally cannot do for you, is understanding. Knowing what the system is for. Knowing what the business actually needs, and the language the business uses, not the language a database schema uses. Knowing where the boundaries are, so that when something changes over here, you can predict what breaks over there. That's not a typing skill, that's a thinking skill, and thinking skills don't get faster just because the tool did. So this is where domain-driven design, clean architecture, hexagonal architecture, all of it stops being enterprise overkill for big companies and starts looking a lot more like a survival kit. Not because the patterns are magic, they're not. They're just the accumulated answer to one question. How do you keep a system understandable as it grows? That question used to matter because code bases got big. Now it matters because code bases get big fast. And the people who'd normally slow down and catch the drift are the ones pasting tickets into a chat window. I'll keep it straight with you though. These patterns add real complexity, and if you reach for the whole toolkit on a weekend project, you'll hate them, and you'll be right to. The point isn't ceremony. The point is keeping a fast-growing system legible to a human. AI writes the code, fine. Somebody still has to understand it, govern it, and decide whether it even belongs. That's the job now. I think that's always going to be the job. Now let me tell you where I'm coming from because I think it matters. Back around 2017, I thought the idea of AI replacing developers was kind of ludicrous. Even if it eventually replaced juniors, I figured you'd always need a senior or senior people to write the code the AI couldn't. I held on to that comfortably for years. Then in 2024, I got laid off, along with a lot of other developers, and I spent over a year looking for work. And for a while, I swung hard the other way. How is anyone supposed to find a dev job when every team in the country is shrinking because of AI? That was a rough stretch. I worked in a grocery warehouse for a while. I delivered pizzas. Software felt like a door that had quietly closed behind me. What finally changed my mind wasn't a headline. It was sitting down and actually using the tools. And what I saw was this. Yeah, a junior can have AI build a whole project from the ground up fast, and it'll look great. But most of them can't tell you why it's built that way, and the second something breaks, they're back in the chat window, pasting the error in and hoping for a fix they have no way to evaluate. So I don't think either version of my old belief was right. AI didn't replace senior developers, and it's not going anywhere either. What it does is take a team that already knows how to think clearly about a domain and make them dramatically faster. And it takes a team that doesn't and helps them build a mess at record speed. Same tool both times. The difference is whether anyone in the room still understands what's being built. That's not a hot take. It's just what I watched happen to other people and to me. So here's the one thing I'd ask you to try, starting with your very next ticket. Before you paste anything into an AI tool, take 5 minutes and write down in plain language what this change is supposed to do and why. Not the implementation, the intent. In words a product person would understand. Something like, this needs to let a customer cancel an order before it ships, but not after, because once it ships, we've already paid for the label. Then, when the AI hands you a diff, don't just check that it compiles and the tests pass. Check it against that sentence. Does what it actually built match what you said you needed? And if you can't tell if the code is too tangled, or too clever, or smeared across 6 files with no clear seam, that's not the AI did a bad job problem. That's a signal that the architecture itself isn't built to be understood by you or by anyone. And that's fixable. That's the whole point of this channel. So let me actually ask you something, because I read every one of these comments and I mean it. Where have you watched an AI-generated code base start to rot? Is it a bug nobody could trace, or the service nobody understood? The moment you realized the team had shipped something none of you could explain? Tell me the war story down below. Not to call anyone out, nobody's the villain here. I just think the more of us who say it out loud, the faster we work out what to do about it. And if you got something out of this, if you're walking away thinking a little bit differently about the code your team is shipping, do me a favor and tap like. It genuinely helps the right people find this. Subscribe and you'll be here for the next one, where we get into why AI won't make you a better developer and what actually will. The language is becoming irrelevant. The thinking is not. That's the whole bet this channel is making. I'll see you in the next one. Always think before you commit and push.